I spoke to Brian Katulis about America's withdrawal from Afghanistan. Katulis is a senior fellow with the Center for American Progress, specializing in the Middle East, national security, and counterterrorism. Here's what he had to say.
The president and his team tried this summer to project a certain message that we were just ending endless wars and that we'll do this in a responsible and safe manner. Orderly withdrawal was the phrase that they used. And I think in using those terms, they actually set expectations in a certain way that clearly have not yet been met. I think the bigger issue are these sort of advocacy-like slogans they've used on ending endless wars and ending forever wars, which may appeal to certain small slices of the American public who've been engaged in Afghanistan, but actually ring hollow in the face of events on the ground, because it's quite clear that the war in Afghanistan, no matter whether or not U.S. troops are there, will continue and may get worse. So that's one thing where Americans, yes, are tired of being in places like Afghanistan or Iraq without any clear end in sight. But at the same time, what we saw in 2012, 13, and 2014 in Iraq is that when risks emerge, they also want to be reassured by their leaders and the administration that they actually have a plan to deal with risks of the sort that we saw emerge in Iraq with the Islamic State and what's likely to occur in places like Afghanistan.
Is there a way for them to get back on track?
They need to produce results. They need to get, the first step is to get any American that wants to come home safely. And I think they're doing that with these risky and in some cases clandestine operations, because many Americans are in places that aren't easy to get to Kabul airport from. So they're trying hard. So job number one is to just do what they said they wanted to do. They didn't do that on the orderly withdrawal part, but getting Americans home safely, making sure nobody's taken prisoner or hostage, I think is another key contingency they're planning to try to avoid. And then trying to get as many Afghans who worked with us and stood with us. And there are tens of thousands of them. Get them to safety as well. And I know the administration's trying really hard, but they're doing so in circumstances that have deteriorated quite a lot in the last 2 weeks.
The way that this withdrawal has gone, does it put us at risk with future adversaries?
I think, look, this is just the latest in a series of what many view as betrayals by the United States, stretching across several administrations, not just the Biden administration or the Trump administration, but going back to the Obama administration as well. Just this sense that America is not as strategically reliable. We heard this a lot in places like Syria. If you remember when former President Donald Trump announced a withdrawal on Twitter of US forces. And yes, US forces are still there, but just the sense that we're a pendulum type country swinging back and forth in many different ways, and that we're not standing with certain partners and allies, I think does leave a negative message. Academics at universities can write articles about how there's no such thing as credibility, but I hear it day to day in my work where officials from other countries, diplomats and others simply just comment, and this is not a partisan comment. It's just one of America just is not clear in terms of what it stands for or what it wants. It wants to achieve certain things, but it doesn't want to bear the cost for doing so. So there's just this sense that we zigzag quite a lot in our foreign policy.
Thank you so much for your insight on this.